Initializing memory streams. Restoring patient memory. Restoring memory. Restoring memory.
Hello you plastic antelopes, and welcome to my review of System Shock 2. One thing I do want to say is that I actually tried to play System Shock 2 twice before, and both times I dropped them. It was roughly around the same place as well, and that's when the main backtracking section started. However, what I will say is if you are patient and you go through it and get past those backtracking sections, you will be rewarded. That while those kind of sections do add a bunch of needless time to the game, it's a shame because everything else in this game is done incredibly well, and it's crazy to think this game is 21 years old at this point and still does things so much better than games coming out today. For example, the most recent release of Prey, well, depending on when you watch this video, it feels so much more lacking in comparison to System Shock 2 just because of how complex and how much more there is to the game. For example, some of the things that this game does so well compared to modern games is the atmosphere itself and the feeling that you get of really being on your own amongst so many things trying to kill you is done incredibly well. The sound design, not just of the noises you get from like dripping water, but I'm talking about the enemies just talking to themselves, or the distant monkey noises you can hear and you're just dreading where it's going to appear from. It really does keep you on your toes throughout the entire playthrough. And of course, how can I not mention the main villain? While there are some issues that I'll get onto a bit later, the actual villain in this game, which I'm not going to spoil for you, even though the game is incredibly old, because that's how I roll with these videos, the villain is so good. Just the torments they put you through, and to be honest, the twists, which you may see coming, especially after a while, but you don't get it straight away what that twist will be. And this game feels so ahead of its time when it comes to the different ways that you can play and approach the game. So whether you want to be a stealthy person, you want to be someone who's good with firearms, good with magic, or psi in this case, there are so many different ways to go about this, and it feels a lot more complex as opposed to what games do now, and it's very streamlined, like that you kind of have to go through that route. For this you can do a little bit of many different things, but it's more of like a secondary thing. So for example, if I'm going to be a psi warrior, I can still have a secondary backup as like a melee fighter or as a range fighter with like your modern style weapons. Adding to the actual disturbing and creepy nature of the game is that the human models themselves are so creepy from like 1999, and the actual expressions on their faces of when they're dead and you walk past them really does like amplify given how crazy the models are to begin with, but they really did spend a lot of time on those faces and get them as distressed as they possibly could be. Okay, and on to some of the things which definitely made me stop playing the first two times. And let's start with the true evil, the ladders. Oh my god, the ladders are an absolute nightmare to navigate properly. Whether you think you've got them nailed down or not, those ladders will get you killed, or at least do a lot of damage to you countless times. Doesn't matter how good or how adept you are, those ladders will get you. Definitely some quality of life improvements would have gone a long way with System Shock 2. For example, when you find codes to doors, it would be nice if you could literally just click and see them instantly without having to go back through the audio logs to actually double check the writing to see if you've got that code. And the waypoints, they seem to be very finicky on whether they want to work and be exactly where you want to go, or if they just want to go somewhere completely different, whether that be on a different floor or just a different area. The waypoints can just really test your patience. They like to just go rogue, they like to be rebels. And honestly, the biggest issue I had was the lead up to the final boss fight is amazing. Like, you're properly amped up, your adrenaline's pumping, you're like, finally, I can get some revenge on this final boss. But the actual final boss itself is really disappointing. Like, I was expecting to have a like battle of wills against the boss, not necessarily like an outright shooting battle, but it was just very lackluster and was done really quickly. And I'm not amazing at games, as you've probably seen countless times in any other videos, but I didn't have any issues whatsoever with the boss, and it was over so quickly. Especially when you consider there's not really many bosses in this game, like if any at all that I can think of. Yes, there are stronger enemies, but there's not really any outright boss fights that you get in this game. So it's really disappointing when the one that you do get is very lackluster. All things considered, I would definitely recommend you giving System Shock 2 a try. For a 20-year-old game, it has aged incredibly well. The movement is really fluid, there's vaulting, which I think I didn't even realise existed the first time I played this game, because it didn't tell me, but there are so many positives in this game just to experience the atmosphere itself. While there are a few issues that I mentioned previously, and I would have liked to have seen the weapons be customised further, instead of just slightly increase your capacity and your reload speed, I really do think that it's worth giving this game a try. It's always on offer, it seems, as well, so it's even more of a reason to go try it out. You will be rewarded for your patience. Go give it a pop.